Hey, this is Mike Hambright. Welcome back for another Flip Nerd VIP interview show. Today I have with me Steve Lloyd, who is an expert in raising capital and applying it in the note buying world. So before we get started with Steve, let's take a moment to recognize our sponsors. RealtyMogul.com is an online marketplace for real estate investing, connecting borrowers and capital from accredited and institutional investors. Get a rehab loan fast and close in as little as 10 days. Rates start as low as 9%. We'd also like to thank National Real Estate Insurance Group, the nation's leading provider of insurance to the residential real estate investor market. From individual properties to large-scale investors, National Real Estate Insurance Group is ready to serve you. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky.
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
Good. Glad to have you on.
Thanks so much. I've been enjoying watching all the other shows you've had on. It's really good stuff you're doing.
Yeah, thanks. I'm always excited to get to meet new folks. Some folks that I know well and I get to know better, and some folks like you who I haven't met before came recommended through a previous guest, and so happy to have you on.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges all real estate investors face, especially early on, is raising capital. And then, it's an issue for even veteran investors in a lot of ways. So you've become an expert at that. So tell us a little bit about who you are, and we'll get into the capital raising piece and how you've focused on that area.
Okay. About 10 years ago, I went to a real estate meeting down in Wilmington, Delaware, and I met a bunch of guys, guys and women, about 15 of them, and they were just talking real estate, and I was looking for something new to get into, and talking to these people, investors, they just gave me this big, beautiful heaven of I have to get into real estate. So I actually went back. I had a pizza shop. I sold it within like 2 months. Got into the mortgage business. But the type of mortgage business we were doing mortgages for investors. So obviously that led me to buying some properties.
Like, are you saying like hard money?
No, regular, no hard money, just regular financing.
Okay.
10, 12, just regular financing for, a non-owner occupied property.
I see. Okay.
So that just led into, investment deals that I thought that I should start owning myself. And typical investors started out with a row home. And then after like a year or two, I went into student housing at Temple University. So
okay.
I built a large portfolio there.
All right. And you still own that?
Yeah, I still have it. I own about 60 buildings there, 400 or 500 students, and we're pretty self-contained with property management. And kind of, that was the time when the real estate was falling off the cliff, and the banks were going out of business. And I knew if I was going to continue my real estate career, I had to teach people how to be my bank. So there was no bank construction loans of any type that was going on, and everyone was running from real estate. So I knew that was probably a great time for me to get in, buying all these problems. I think when you buy problems, my whole life's been buying distressed assets and creating equity in them. Mm-hmm. So I had a friend that was, he was buying houses on credit cards, and it just gave me, he would buy a $40,000 house on a credit card, grab another credit card, take 20 grand, finish it, go to the bank, either sell it or refi it. And it was working well for him. And I just said, I was like, let me just take my friends and normal people and show them, how to be a bank, just like, I don't know what you have in Dallas, but PNC Bank or Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
So for me, it was finding a distressed piece of property. I'll give you an example. It might have been a shell for $100,000, and teaching someone how to be my bank. No different than PNC or Wells Fargo would do it. You use a title company, full disclosure, a note, a mortgage, a deed in lieu in Pennsylvania. You could use confession of judgment or personal guarantees, name them in the insurance policy. So I was just showing them how they could be the bank. And a lot of people were looking for places to put alternative investments other than the stock market. I know In 99, I owned Sun Microsystems that went to 99 to 50 cents in like 2 days. So that I cried for a day and I woke up the next day and started working again. But that was painful. And there's a lot of people that don't want to be in the stock market. So it was just
Absolutely.
a really good timing thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So from there, you just kind of ramped it up and took it to a whole nother level, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I did. One of the things what I needed to do when I had a new investor or when I started out with my friend or a new client was to get them to wrap their mind around being a banker, to being the bank, how much work they have to do. Almost nothing. But
Right.
education and the knowledge to teach them, the more I taught them on how to be the bank and how they could be safe, I think a lot of people make a mistake by not teaching them everything. I told somebody, talked about a deed in lieu one time in class when I was teaching, and they're like, why would I want to tell them that? Well, you got to remember, when you start out with an investor, they're your marketing arm, because you're going to get to the point where if you're doing well for them, you're going to say for them, can you put me in front of 3 people that might want to do what I taught you what to do?
Right.
And so if you teach them everything in full disclosure, that's the best policy. Don't hold anything back. So that's the kind of way to do it. And there's actually a great book, Mike. It's called The Banker's Code by George Anton. And I would give all of my clients one of those books because it teaches you the mind of a banker. Loan to value. The reason why the banks got in trouble 7 and 8 years ago is because they were doing 100% loan to value.
Right.
And it created problems in the type of mortgages they were giving. So, I'll lend anybody money. Oh, this is going to be a load. I'm going to get phone calls after this. I'll lend anybody money at 50% loan to value, at 60% loan to value. So you have to educate. You have to teach your investor, and it's almost like an interview. When I sit with somebody about them investing with me or my company, I'm actually like interviewing them. I'm going, what's your timeline to have your money out? What kind of rate of returns are you looking for? I go, hey, do you know about self-directed IRAs? Go learn about self-directed IRAs. I actually don't have time, but I'll turn them over to Carl Fisher from Camoplane and go to get educated, because most people's heads spin when I talk about self-directed IRAs when I meet them out at a restaurant or something. But go find out about self-directed IRAs. It's extremely powerful. Rather than being up and down with the market, you can get a consistent return over 20 years is pretty good. And it's probably 60% of the money I raise, because if I meet someone that's 52 years old that wants to get involved with me, I know it's retirement money. They can go all the way to 70 and a half before they even might want to start touching that money.
Right, right. How do you, one challenge that I know some people have with private investors, I haven't heard a lot of examples of this, but the fear maybe is that if you let your investor get too close, your bank, let's say your private banker, get too close, you don't want them to start telling you, hey, I drove past your house and the lawn needs to be mowed, or why'd you paint it that color? It's my money. I want you to do it this way. I mean, I guess that's part of the education process. But have you had folks that are lending you money start telling you how to run your business?
I don't do that because it's the education to them in the beginning. Yeah. When I have a new investor, I walk them through everything. Everything in life is a plan, right? Unfortunately, I just figured that out. Like I'm 46. I just figured that out about 40 years ago. You have a plan when you wake up for the day, or a plan for the year where you want to be. So if you don't have a plan, you don't have anything. And that's what I hope I can help here. With a new investor, I would take them down to one of my properties and walk them through one of the properties that I've done before. And especially in the beginning of a project, I'm working with someone else, another investor, but I'm going to say, this is what it's about. I let them meet my partners. I let them meet the construction guy. I let them talk to my attorney if they want to talk to my accountant. But I take them from the beginning of when they give me their money through the process, and then how we're going to pay them back. Because, Mike, I think we know that anybody can go buy a piece of real estate. That's the easy part. But it's really the end result is where that's most important. Where are you going to end up at the end? And I think that's where a lot of people make a mistake. But to your question is, I walk them through the whole process. And if they once you get started and you get better at this, sometimes you do have to shut the investor down. But if you're doing your job, you're not going to have those kinds of problems. And you might say to them, hey, look, this investment isn't for you the next time. Let me get through this deal. I'll pay you back. It's just not working out for you. Because I always tell my investors, I want them to sleep at night. If I have their money and they can't sleep at night, then they shouldn't have their money with me.
Right. And we were talking a little bit before we started the recording today. I know one challenge that I've had, I've raised some private money, but I've had the ability to raise, after you're in this business for a while, money just comes to you much easier, right? After you've had some level of success. And the challenge is, a lot of real estate investors, I know this for folks that are new, they're going to say, maybe laugh at this a little bit, but it gets to a point to where you could raise more money than you need effectively. So the challenge then is, how do you go to somebody and say, you want to invest, let's just say $1 million with me. That's fantastic, but I only need 100,000 right now. Can you just set the rest aside for me when I could use it? And I sense you probably have run into some of those issues, and so you started to have to find new ways to apply that money. So is that how you got into the note business?
Yeah, I mean, a couple years ago, I knew, when I first got into the business, you have this, I want to own $50 million worth of real estate. Yeah. And then after owning like 18 or 19 million, you start to get a little tired.
Yeah. And, maybe this is
enough.
But
it was real. I kind of was looking at my investors, how they were making money. And let's just say I borrowed $100,000 and they were getting a check every month for $800. I was like, these guys got the better end of the stick being the bank, right? I mean, I'm doing all the work and they're sitting there collecting a check every month. So, I started to learn about the note world, the non-performing first, non-performing seconds, performing seconds. So to your point is, yes, there is once you get rolling, the money starts coming, but you have to make good educated decisions on, maybe it might not be just a real estate property. I chose to open up a private placement. That's called Stone Bay Holdings. And I decided to get into the note business and pool money. So that's why I needed a private placement. It's definitely different than just a one-on investment with a property. So it turns into a security, and then there's definitely laws that you have to learn, accredited investors and things like that. But to do a private placement and start raising money, but there's millions of notes available.
Yeah.
So the access to the availability of notes, I can take a lot of money to that field. So I knew I had to go off on a different venture. I looked at many different ones, but I buy performing second mortgages across the country. So a lot of guys are doing the workouts with the homeowners, but that really creates a lot of employees. And I'm actually trying to scale down as I get older to have less employees.
Yeah.
But look, Mike, I buy a reperforming second mortgage and I have a servicer that collects the mortgage. I'm sorry.
Hey, give us some education on the difference. I mean, the difference between a first and a second, and performing, non-performing, and reperforming. I don't even know what that is unless it stopped performing and then it's performing again. Is that?
Yeah, we're actually. I'll talk about second mortgages. You have a second mortgage, and it's that might be a line of credit, or when they were doing 80/20s years ago.
Yeah.
20% of that mortgage you get rid of PMI insurance. So that second mortgage goes in default. They stop paying, but it might not be forever. People get in trouble for 3 reasons with their mortgages: health, job, divorce. Health, job, divorce. But it doesn't last forever. But I always make sure that first is paying. That's very important in my world. Yeah. So the second mortgages, if you're buying direct from the bank or a hedge fund, you can buy non-performing for 8 or 9 or 10 cents on the dollar. So the unpaid principal balance might be 100. You're picking that mortgage up for 8 or 9 grand. And then
just to clarify, what the reason that most people think that if they understand this, the second mortgages are risky is because if they go into foreclosure, the second mortgage typically gets wiped out, right?
Yeah, I mean that there's many different things you can do. Sure. That we won't go into all of it without being, of course, but when they're buying the non-performing, this will be really good. If you're buying first and the original first mortgage was $300,000, okay, if that note goes non-performing for a year or year and a half, you'll probably be able to pick that up for like 40 cents on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar. So for one first mortgage, I have to spend $150,000. Mm-hmm. In the second mortgage world, they're going for 8 or 9 cents. I could buy 30 or 40 non-performing second mortgages for the same price of buying one. So now it just comes down to creating workouts with homeowners and creating a win-win situation with 30 or 40 mortgages. Yeah, on the non-performing world, if you're doing workouts, 10 you're going to throw in the trash.
Yeah.
10, it might take you 9 months to get worked out, but there's what they call low-hanging fruit that 10 might just start paying right away. They've been waiting for that phone call.
Yeah.
But what I do is I have a private placement. I raise capital. Okay. It's a private placement because I'm pulling from many people. Okay. It's a 5-year investment. But then I go and buy the notes after they're performing again. So I wait till maybe someone's workout company's had it paying for 6 or 9 months. Then I step into the world. I'll buy their note from them at 40 cents on the dollar.
These are second mortgages still?
Yep. Don't let the second scare you. That's another.
I'm scared, man.
Yeah.
No.
Returns can be from 18 to 30%. You're going to have hiccups, but you get warranties on the notes. There's good companies out there. One of the ones I deal with get a phenomenal warranty. So if I stop getting paid on the note, they'll take the note back and replace it with another one. So there's all kinds of things that you can do with seconds. But
sure.
To get back to your original question, I needed another place to take money. Yeah. So I had to look at other angles and other places that was a safe, in my placement, my investors own the notes with me. So that's another topic of having your investors, letting them know they're secured. I wouldn't get involved in raising money in unsecured. It's just not a good thing. Everything needs to be secured to an asset. And I think that's really crucial. But in my private placement, when I have someone come over, I take them from the start. I educate them on the business. I show them the servicer that I use. They collect the money. They send the money in my bank account every night. They do all the accounting. And then we have someone working in the office that works 3 days a week and just books the principal and interest. And it's great. Then on the 15th of every month, the investors get paid. So I've turned into raising the money to do my real estate projects and then just owning mortgages, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And so talk a little bit about, I know a lot of folks that buy pools and notes, at least for non-performing notes. One of the challenges, one of the things that's always made me, even though I don't know a lot about it, not that interested, is they're scattered all over the place. And are you buying? And maybe it doesn't matter. It's just getting over that hump. I've been so local in my real estate investing that I always primarily invest in one market. It's a big market, but talk a little about when you buy mortgages. Are you geographically specific, or by the time you pick them up and they're performing second loans again, or do you care where they're at?
I actually don't really care where they are. I mean, there are some states that I stay away from just because of the laws on foreclosures and things like that. You have to remember, Mike, the most important thing is people want to stay in their home. It's the greatest thing they ever bought in their life. They're not, the normal banks, I don't want to get in trouble here, but the normal banks don't know how to talk to people. They call up and the people are already in distress and they might be going through a divorce. They might be out of their job. And the banks are calling up and just saying, if you don't pay in 30 days, we're foreclosing on you. It's a completely different world when you have a non-performing. It's like, what happened? How did you get there? How can we create a win-win situation? We don't buy paper to foreclose on something. That's the wrong thing to do. Yeah. And when you wrap that around your mind, that's half the battle. But buy in most states, but New York, New Jersey, there's things that we stay away from. But like I just went on Google Maps. I wanted to look at a note that I'm getting ready to buy. I was at the front door. I could almost see inside the house. You're looking at the yard, you're looking at the property if it's kept up and things like that. You can call a real estate agent to do a drive-by for you. All different things. It's the communication with the homeowner that's going to create that win-win.
Sure.
But when you're looking at that, Mike, I know I'll show you one day. If you want to get excited, okay, when you get a payment for $300, when you create that workout, because the homeowner is not looking really at an interest rate. They're looking at an affordable payment. You ever walk into a car dealership and what's the first question they ask you?
How much do you want to pay? Yeah.
How much do you want to pay?
Right.
It's not the interest rate. It's what you afford to pay. Now, you have to make sure the homeowner can afford to make their payment, but if they're nervous, if they just got served papers, they might say, I can pay 400. Well, maybe it's, hey, after we look at the financials, look, we really only think you can afford to pay 250, but remember, you bought that note at a discount.
Right.
It's a good thing to keep them in the home.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk about what's interesting, in the business that I'm in, buying houses, we buy them one at a time. And it's a challenge. It's a grind because you're grinding out one at a time. And there's some natural evolution to going into the note business or multifamily, doing bigger deals. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on just the kind of evolution from people getting started. Because once in a while I meet somebody that's a big multi-unit player and they actually started a multi-unit. They've never even bought a single house. That's pretty rare. A lot of times it's kind of like the game Monopoly, right? They kind of start with the little red houses, work your way up, or the green houses, work your way up to the hotels, or bigger properties. And I suspect it's the same thing with notes. I mean, you didn't start there. You just got in and you said, how can I take this to a whole nother level?
Yeah, it's much easier to work. An average note specialist can work 80 to 90 notes at a time. If they're really good, they can work 100 to 130 a time. One person working on 100 mortgages at one time. How many people does it take to build a triplex from a piece of dirt?
Yeah.
20, 30, 40, and you can only, if you get into, could you imagine doing 20 projects at one time? I was there. I need a big bag of Advil, and I was starting to lose my hair, as you can tell. So, it was a problem, but you can work a lot of notes at one time.
Sure.
I can go buy 100 reperforming notes at one time and get a 15 to 23% return on my money. And really raising money, evaluating paper, buying the paper, servicer, getting paid.
Yeah.
And I didn't break a sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it's easier too if you're buying them after they're performing again versus the one who has to go grind out which ones are going to start performing again.
Yeah, that's the world I want to live in. Just being the bank. I mean, holding the paper. If you talk to people, hey, look, it's both. I do both. There's nothing to me. I have such a passion for real estate and the note part of it. So I combine two things that has created great success in our company. So I think I have the best of both worlds. If you talk to a real estate guy, they love real estate. If you talk to a note guy, they go, well, I don't have toilets, roofs, windows, building inspectors, licensing. I don't have all that stuff. So They want a more passive life. Come on, what's better than the number that I look at every single month? Everyone, when I meet people that are like, I'm cash flowing, I'm doing this. And Mike, I tell you, the only thing I really look at the end of the month is what I'm paying on the principal to the bank at the end of the month. Yeah. That's a great number to look at because I don't get to put that number in my pocket every month, but I know that number is being paid down on, and I'm creating leverage. So when I teach, I go, wouldn't it be pretty cool? I look at tenants as people that work for me. So it's almost like if you have 100 or 50 or wherever you are in your stage of your investment career with real estate, if you only have 10 people, I look at it this way. I got 10 people going to work for me every day to pay down my debt.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk a little bit about you said your model now is to buy them after they're performing, reperforming, and you allow other people to kind of work through the ones that are going to perform and aren't. Where's the marketplace for buying those? Are you buying them one at a time? Are you buying packages?
I deal with a couple people. I think it's all relationships, right? You're creating relationships. So I deal with one major player in the field where all they do is the workouts and they sell the reperformer. So and they also give a warranty, which is pretty cool. So I kind of want to develop more of that. But after someone's been paying for, say, 9 to 12 months consecutive, you're looking in pretty good shape. They can afford to pay that. If you buy one and there's a hiccup, it's going to be in the beginning, the first or second month.
Yeah.
I'd answer your question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm always curious what the restraint is. Like in the single family house business, it's always finding that next deal. And the marketplace exists. In my world, we're an advertising model, so we're relying upon how much we advertise and how many leads that'll bring in. And I'm curious what the restraint, where the marketplace is. So it sounds like you just built relationships with people that are working them out.
If you want to get into the working out the non-performing first world, there's plenty of paper. Just have people call me or email me.
Yeah.
You want the second world, there's not as much first, obviously, but there's plenty of non-performing paper in the second world. On the reperforming side, it's really, I'm just not in the open market out there buying from anybody. The most important part is the workout specialist. And I want to know who that person is just in case I do have problems with that note.
Yeah.
On the big scheme of things, you can do, if you want to lend money or get involved, you can do all kinds of financing other than a non-performing second mortgage across the United States.
Yeah, sure.
So it doesn't have to be that risk level, but the returns are 15 to 25 to 24%. So as I scale this thing up, say I have 200 notes, say I have a problem with 15 of them, it's not going to affect that whole pool.
Right.
So
right.
I tell somebody if they're going to get into the non-performing note business, right, in seconds, don't think that you're going to buy one. On the second side, you better be able to buy 10 or 12 because I think you might lose money on 4 or 5, but you're going to make really good money on 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah.
It's really scalability on the note side for me.
Yeah. It's similar to rental properties, right? You don't want to own one, and you can't get any scale until you own a bunch and start to get efficient.
Imagine, I mean, your self-directed IRA owning 3 notes, paying 25%.
Right.
And people go, well, I shouldn't mention the interest rates on one here, but can you imagine? I mean, come on, it's not.
You're saying it, man. It's not me, so.
It's not out of the realm to have that. I mean, you can easily have a note, a second mortgage note, or even a first in that 15% range, but a second mortgage secured lien to the property. There can be equity in the property if you own the second. Remember, the first is still paying down the mortgage and principal's coming off, and equity is coming back in our country now. So, hey, look, the where you didn't want to be 6 or 7 years ago in maybe Las Vegas or Arizona, not looking bad. Florida's looking pretty good. They're building again down there with new construction houses. I'm pretty surprised about that, but big bank, big money comes in and changes everything over time.
Yeah. As a second mortgage holder, is there a method? Like, how do you stay in touch with what's going on with the first mortgage? Or is that a really long answer?
No, it's not. But when you get that note worked out, they have to give you authorization to be able to talk to the first.
Okay, but if somebody stops paying on the first, do you know?
I don't even stay in contact with the first unless I get a note that's slow pay. Say I own 200 notes and I don't check on all 200 notes. I only check on the ones that are slow pay.
But they notify you if there's a slow payment, or so you somehow get notified.
Well, the servicer that I use, I know at the end of every month. Yeah, because there's
but you're talking about on the second lien. On the second lien,
you said, well, I know if it's slow pay or not.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I know right away because their payments due on the 1st or the 15th.
Sure, okay.
I know up to date with the servicer. You just go log on and you see exactly what's going on.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's a lot of new rules coming out in banking, so especially with servicing, you have to keep up with it. But the servicer that I use, they'll attack the homeowner 3 times. They'll do soup. They're a full shop. They'll do everything you want to pay for. Put it that way.
Yeah.
But basically servicing a note for somebody, and they're taking care of the accounting. It runs between $8 and $15 a month.
Yep. And so talk a little bit about how you work with others and educate others, and how folks could get a hold of you if they wanted to learn more about how to potentially get in the business and maybe work with you.
If they want to learn, was that?
Yeah. Do you teach others how to do this? Or
I do this because I have a passion for it. People can email me or call me. I'll give them my time. I don't have anything to sell. I know what I do well. That's how I make my money. But I love educating people. I speak in the Northeast a lot. Coming up June 5th, I think people, if they want to learn how to raise money, there's a great, it's called the Pitbull Conference. I'm going to be attending that on June 5th. I've never attended one, but I think Leonard Rosen has a pretty good program there. There's all kinds of.
Where's it at? Where's it at this time?
It's at the M Hotel in Las Vegas, June 5th. That's a 1-day event, 7 in the morning till 6 or 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
People could go there. If they want to learn about notes, I send them to it's a company called Partners for Payment Relief. They want to learn how to do note workouts. They actually have a program that you can learn how to create workouts with the homeowners. They have a full-fledged program, and it's absolutely phenomenal, their program.
That's great. Okay. That's what I was looking for. Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate your time today and sharing some information.
Good. Thanks a lot.
Second notes. I know for a lot of folks it sounds complicated, but it always amazes me how many different ways there are to play and make money in the real estate space.
Yeah, and for me, I know what I know, but I'm always trying. I've been raising money for over 10 years, but I'm still going to the Pitbull conference to hang with people that do what I do, and I can learn little tidbits and a couple nuggets from them. So you never stop educating yourself. But I think one of the most important things one of the things I can leave you with is learn how to raise money the right way. It solves a lot of problems, and keep the ethics and integrity into the business. And when you learn how to raise money the right way and you find things to do with it, the sky's the limit, what you can do and where you can take your future to.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Steve. I definitely appreciate your time today. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us.
Great show, Mike. Thanks.
Stay in touch. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Are you a member of FlipNerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit FlipNerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to FlipNerd.com.